Hey, Tom, if you refresh your agenda.
Very good.
Greg, should I sit down or stay up?
You may stay standing. Mike is going to sing a song.
All right. Song and verse, Greg. Song and verse.
All right, it's 4:30, so I'd like to welcome everybody that's here, and I would ask that you please stand with me for a moment of silence, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have a roll call, please.
Tom Eggers. Here. Chantel Ostra. Here. Pete Hamill.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
Brad Hand. Here.
All right, next item up is for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Yes, Sam, from a comment?
Mayor, there's one clarification I needed to make that Councilmember Eggers mentioned to me before the meeting is 4F, that is in reference to 7 lots only, per the discussion at the previous meeting. But the agenda item doesn't say 7 lots, so I wanted to clarify that it's those 7 lots that have been previously discussed.
All right.
Thanks for the clarification. Thanks for the clarification.
And so with that clarification, then, we'll take a motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Oh, you have a motion, we have a support?
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Roll call, please.
Ostra. Aye. Hamill.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ken. Aye. Eggers.
Aye.
All right, we now come to the public forum portion of our meeting. Is there anyone here wishing to address the council at this time? That isn't later, going to talk to us later.
Okay.
I don't think so. Any written comments?
None.
Okay. Then we can move on to consent agenda.
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Support.
Any comments or discussion? Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Ostra. Aye.
Okay, item 5A is the fourth introduction and possible approval of the capital improvement plan. Is there anything you'd like to say at this time, Sam, about that?
I don't have a lot to add. This has been introduced a couple of times to you. I think the first time there wasn't much discussion, but it's up to you whether you approve it tonight or if you wait until after the visioning. It could go either way.
Sam and I discussed it a little bit this morning. I'm of a mind to just wait, and if it's subject, because we have in there subject to change based on results of the strategic planning workshops, we can approve it now and amend it later, or we can just let it ride and approve it after next week's meetings.
It's only a plan. Nothing's ever approved off the plan, with the exception when it goes through the budget process. So it's just a vision for us, like the vision planning session is going to be.
I'm fine if we wait.
Go ahead.
I'm fine if we wait, so.
Okay. What are you saying, Brad? Would you
It's
like
only
to-
a plan.
Yeah, are you saying approve it, or are you saying
Just
we're
well
getting wait
approve
and
it.
you're approve?
I say just well approve it, because it's only a plan. It's not etched in concrete that we're doing all these,
Yeah.
we talk about them in the budget.
I'm with you. I just don't want to have to reapprove it and reapprove it and reapprove it. Maybe prove it one more time, so.
If budget plan, or if the workshops were a ways off, I'd be probably inclined to do it, but it's like next week, next meeting.
Yeah.
How much does it make? That doesn't make that much difference, so. But
Whatever. It's only a plan.
So I need a motion one way or the other. Who wants to be first?
I think it's important to remember that the budgets are due to Angie on the departmental budgets are due to Angie on the 15th, and some of what's in the CIP is,
So that would be before our next meeting. Then, is that
before the 18th,
Yeah.
but.
I'll make
it can go
motion
either
to
way.
approve it.
Okay, we have motion, do we have support?
Support.
Any further comments?
I guess I don't really understand why we have to approve it, because it's subject to change. But whatever works.
We have a motion and support.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
All right.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Ostra. Aye.
All right. Flip your page, if you're working off a paper, 6A, item 6A is consider request to delay, reduce, or remove the minimum assessment for a lot in the Sunshine Edition, per the request of Mike Clemmy with Oak Tree Properties.
If I might,
Yes, sir.
I was under the impression that he was going to be here today, so maybe you want to just table this until the end of the agenda and see if he comes. He might be running a little bit late.
Any comments you want to make prior to this, prior to his arrival? Do we want to, can we do that without him here? Can we comment without him here?
We can, it's on the agenda, and
Yeah.
the request is on the agenda, we
Yeah.
sure can, so would you like me to do that?
Mhm.
Okay. So, I guess, the bottom line here is this lot was tied up in red tape and liens for years, and they hadn't been developed. Oak Tree Properties has purchased the lot, and they're asking for the minimum assessment to be removed. You and I visited about it this morning. If it's all right, I'll tell you. You
Yes.
asked me what my recommendation was, and the recommendation of, I guess my recommendation would be to, if you want to move the process forward and your goal is to get a house there, is offer to waive the minimum assessment completely for a couple of years, and then ask for a $300,000 or $350,000 minimum assessment. That's a negotiation. Because you're not going to build a $100,000 house anymore. Or a $200,000 house.
10 years
Probably.
ago, 100,000, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
what can you build for that?
Well, that's my concern by removing the assessment, is that he comes in with a mini house or something,
Doesn't build on it, period.
pardon me?
Or he doesn't build on it at all. The other thing, shouldn't have he done investigation on that lot before he bought the property? I don't feel it's necessarily our fault. All along, it's been spelled out, part of that property had an assessment to it. If you're doing your due diligence on buying these properties up, you should investigate them. I know he's buying them on a tax sale.
I think he did. You commented a little bit about that in terms of there was some confusion at the courthouse on this. You want to comment on that?
Well, his letter refers to, he bundled it when bought it at the same time as some other properties.
Then once again, down the road, other people that have minimum assessments are gonna come to us and say, will you forgive my minimum assessment? Then what are we gonna do?
So a little bit of background, Mayor, on
Yes,
this
please.
particular property. And I apologize if I don't have all the details and dates right, because many of these things go back several years. So we're talking about Sunshine Edition 2, I believe. And in Sunshine Edition 2, there were protective covenants in place since at least 2006 that contemplated some type of minimum assessment, and at that time, it was $100,000. Fast forward 8, 9, 10 years perhaps, and I believe that all but approximately 4 of the lots were sold. And so the city council offered an incentive per which buyers could acquire the lots for $1 if they agreed to a minimum assessment of $200,000. And I'm going to rely on staff to correct me if I get any of this incorrect. All the lots were then sold per that program. 2 of the 4 were developed and have homes. The remaining 2 were not developed, and in the interim, my recollection is that there were some significant tax liens placed on them. Not just by the county, but by other taxing entities. When you have tax liens on a property, those are difficult title problems to fix. When these went to the tax sale, that would have eliminated those per the proper exercise of the tax sale proceedings. So to some degree, you could argue, the purchaser, who was an investor purchasing them per tax sale proceedings, helped out the community in helping get rid of those tax liens. Now, that's his investment and that's his choice to make, but now he has 2 lots, or 1 lot, excuse me. And there is a legitimate question about if and what minimum assessment is against the property at all at this point. And that is in part because minimum assessments have been treated differently by the county since a change in who the assessor is. If you recall, our typical procedure now is to have written minimum assessment agreements on the front end of transactions, if and when they're part of the deal. That was not always the case, and it was not necessarily the case back in 2016. That's a long way of saying there is a legitimate question of what minimum assessment is currently in place. And at this point, yeah, it is up to the council about how to proceed with this request, but it is a rather novel circumstance that concerns only these 2 particular lots in Sunshine Edition.
So as it stands right now, that minimum assessment would be in effect today?
Well, the protective covenants are still valid today.
So basically, and he's not intending, from what I gather from the letter, he's not intending to build. He's looking for a buyer that will build. I don't know how much we owe him that leeway. I guess I don't mind giving him some time, but I also don't want to give him a free ride. We want some building to happen there.
Yeah, the good news from the city's perspective is that for the past several years, it collected tax on the higher amount, and in fact, when it was purchased on tax sale, they recouped it all, got the higher amount, even though they were bare lots. So that has been accomplished. So
Okay.
for instance, hypothetically, if the current assessment of $200,000 is lifted for a period of time pending building, there would have been a higher rate of tax than on just a vacant lot. And we remember that taxes are a year behind, right? So even if you waive the assessment, let's say effective January 1, 2025, the taxes that have accrued for the prior year are still owed in upcoming months. So there's a bit of a timing issue too in all of this. The city is not in a position to tell the county, no more taxes.
Really?
They're not. That's my profound statement of the day.
Why don't they just listen to us? Oh, never mind.
So in light of the conversation we had 2 weeks ago on Crossroads and the 7 lots there, how is this different today, Brad?
there's an assessment on it. There's an active assessment on it. If we forego, delay,
Mhm. But, I mean,
Then what
the
happens-
ultimate goal is to build more houses. I
yeah.
mean, That
So
was the ultimate
if-
goal then, too.
If you would have somebody that would stand up at the podium today and say, I'll buy that lot and build a house, I'll think about it. I'll think about doing something different. He just doesn't want to pay the taxes right now. Because he bought it on a tax sale. He doesn't want to agree, he doesn't want the assessment to be on that property.
Okay.
So if he'd come to the podium and have somebody that would say, I'm willing to build on that lot, I'll buy it, if you forego the minimum assessments for a year or 2 years, I might think about it. I don't know what the rest of the council's opinion is.
Yeah, that's my next question. What,
That's my
anybody
opinion.
else want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, since it's a privately owned now, I mean, if, in a way, it would be kind of interesting if we could just buy it back for $1 and then we could start the process over again. But I doubt if he would sell it to us for $1, so. I think you let the assessment sit on it, and he can come back in 6 months and let us know how it's going on the sale, and maybe if he gets it sold, we can do something then. But I think you leave it where it's at. That was the intent when we voted on it the last time, so.
Has anybody done the calculation in dollars and cents? What would he have to pay? Assuming that assessment is in force right now, and it's 200,000 today, correct? Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know, are you looking to calculate?
I can find out, but.
Okay.
I have the assessor's link under item 6A, so I'm clicking into that to see if it has the taxation on it. Under overhead view.
Tree.
You click on property report. Yeah, it doesn't have the... I know Beacon had the taxes, Todd, but I don't...
Right.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
So roughly $3,400 a year.
So if we would, he's asking one to possibly delay it for 2 years and change it back to 100,000. I don't think that minimum assessment of 200,000, like you say, what can you build for 200,000 as far as a home goes now? I don't want to see him just build a storage shed for 60 grand. We could go 1 year to give him a little time. There's something in the middle that we might be able to do. I don't know. I don't want to discourage him, but I want him to get it done.
It's unfortunate he's not here today. I'd like to hear his
The
side.
city would be in a better legal position with the county and the assessment process if they had a written agreement with this lot owner for if and when the assessment would kick in. Again, to my earlier point, historically, there were many protective covenants out there that said these shall take effect if and when someone doesn't build, but the current requirement is that you have to have a written requirement, a written agreement. The assessor has been willing to grandfather some of those, but I don't know as I sit here how he would treat this particular one since it's been through the tax sale.
So the agreement that was in place prior to whoever had it before, that is null and void at this point? Is that what you're saying?
There are resolutions and such about that agreement, but there isn't a written minimum assessment agreement, which is what the county assessor would be looking for currently.
Okay.
Then what are we acting on?
Right, that's, yeah.
What was the
Honestly,
question?
there's if there isn't anything in there,
Because the assessor currently is assessing it at 200,000 under kind of the grandfather approach. The question is, would he continue to do that or not? And I don't know. That's up to him.
well, the question B is, if he doesn't, is there anything we can do about it? That's the question from us.
He
If we
being
don't
the
have an
assessor.
agreement, as you
And
say,
that's why legally it would be better for the city to enter into a written agreement with its property owner, because you eliminate the question of what's going to happen with the old paperwork.
So
How
back,
many other properties will they have to go back and change then?
We're talking about just these two.
Just the two? Okay.
So what you're saying is we need to come up with what our terms are, correct?
I'm saying, I think, as your city attorney, if you had a written agreement, like, we will delay a minimum assessment for 1 year, if you agree that after that 1 year, the amount would be X, that would put you in, I think, a better position than you currently are today.
I think that sounds reasonable.
It would also be consistent with the protective covenants,
Yeah.
which contemplated, we want you to build after you obtain ownership. He's obtained ownership.
I guess I still have a question. Why would he sign it? If there's nothing
Because
written
he
right
has
now,
uncertainty
fine.
as well. You both have uncertainty.
I have a feeling we won't go backwards on a dollar amount.
you have a
So-
feel, what's that again?
I said, I don't think we'll go, we shouldn't go back less than 200,000.
So we leave the assessment at 2,000 or raise it to 300,000, as Sam mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, and give him the 2 years.
If he agrees to it, which I doubt he will,
Take it or leave it.
yeah.
So, like I said, it's unfortunate that he's not here. I'm of a mind that we offer that, but I think we need to, I would like to hear from him first.
How
So-
about we just take no action on it tonight?
That's kind of where I'm going, table it for now, and
Not table it, take no action on it, and then it's up to him to come up with an agreement.
Sounds reasonable. See what happens.
So leave it as is for now, is what you're saying?
Don't do anything with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just move to the next step.
Just go to the next item, and if he wants to bring it back to the agenda, then he needs to have a proposal for us to take action on. 'Cause right now, we don't have anything to take an action on.
well, we have his request.
His request,
Yeah, he's requesting that it be put back 2 years and changed it back to 100,000.
And what I'm hearing is no, that we're denying that request. Is that fair?
I would say, my take is yes. But there's 4 other people here that,
You can make a
Well-
motion to that.
I support that.
okay, then I'll make the motion to deny his request.
Support.
Is there, you said support, Ken? Okay, any further discussion? Is that, in light of what you said, we would be in a better position if we had a minimum assessment agreement in place? Does that conflict with what this motion is right now, in any way?
This motion is to deny his current request. That doesn't stop the city from continuing to talk to him about other ideas.
Okay.
Right.
Do we need to put that in the motion?
Okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
All right. Moving on then to our presentation of the 23-24 audit. Bonnie Schweiger, how do you pronounce it? Schweiger is here from ABDO,
From Abdo, yes.
Abdo.
Yeah.
All right. That's not an acronym?
No, it is
Okay.
not. No, it's the last name of our founding partner.
Oh, okay.
It's John Abdo.
All right. Very good. Welcome.
All right.
We look forward to your presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I want to start with just, this is the first time that I'm seeing you all, and so I wanted to start with just a little bit of an overview about myself and my experience, and then we'll go into the details of the financial results for the fiscal year 24 audit. So my name is Bonnie Schwicker. I'm an audit partner with Abdo, and I've been working solely with local governments for the past 14 years. This is all that I do every day. I don't do business audits, I don't do nonprofit audits, I just work with local governments, and I absolutely love it. So it's such a great job, and I love accounting and audits, and that's a weird thing to say, but I just love it so much. And so I'm so happy to be working with the city. This is our first year going through the audit. And when we go through and do a financial statement audit, and then we summarize the results for this presentation, we like to not only focus on the technical results, but also some of the financial trends that we see for the city. So some of the information that I'm going to share with you goes a little bit beyond just the technical overview of the audit, but also goes into some of the revenue and expense trends for the last few years. I am going to start more on the technical side, and in your packet you have a variety of different documents attached to the agenda item. I'm going to be focusing on the one that's titled Presentation, that on the very front of it says City of Sheldon 2024 Financial Statement Audit. We can go into the other documents as well, and I will refer to them during the presentation. If you have specific questions on the more detailed schedules, I would love to go into those questions in those documents as well. But I'll plan to focus strictly on the 12-page audit presentation so that we don't get too much into the weeds and I can make the best use of your time. All right, so first I'm going to start on page 3 of the presentation, which is titled Audit Results. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the 2 different audit opinion letters that we have in the report. The first one is our independent auditor opinion letter, and that is required by state statute. It's required by your bondholders, and it's also a really great idea to have this independent auditor opinion letter provided with your financial statements. We do plan to issue an unmodified opinion. We have it in draft form right now, and we'll plan on finalizing and taking that draft watermark off of there right after this presentation. That unmodified opinion essentially means that we were able to obtain all of our audit evidence and complete the audit over the city, and also its discreetly presented component units. One thing that is different with this audit opinion letter from this year compared to the last few years is the unmodified opinion. In the past couple of years, you've had a qualified opinion due to the component units not being included within the scope of our audit. And when we came in to audit the city, we looked at those component units and decided that they should be included, and we were going to complete those audit procedures this year. And so we were able to go through our audit procedures over 2 of your component units, the ambulance team and also the fire. I'll talk a little bit about that audit on the next slide and some of the results that came out of that. We also issue a compliance opinion over compliance with state statutes, and we did not find any issues there. You have to do a lot of different you have to follow a lot of different compliance requirements around how you do contracting and bidding, run your council meetings, pay bills, things like that, and no compliance issues came up. So that was really great to see. On the next slide is an overview of a finding that we have included in the report, and it specifically is around internal controls over cash collections. And so one thing that's really common when we start looking at an entity for the first time and it's audited for the first time, as the fire and ambulance team were this year, we find that the controls can be improved. And it's really important that we point out any control issues that need to be put in place. And so we do have a finding for internal control related to the cash receipt process and just enhancing the cash receipt collection process when large cash collections occur. And one thing that we found is that it wasn't being tracked very well as far as how deposits were being handled. And not that there were any discrepancies or cash missing, there was nothing like that, but the process could be enhanced and the controls could be tightened. And so that is one recommendation that we have, and it's our understanding that within the fire fundraising that's already been put in place and those controls have been strengthened. And as also attached in your agenda packet is an example cash count sheet that follows our recommendation for what should be put in place. I also wanted to make sure just to touch on for the ambulance and the fire that they're shown as what's referred to as a discretely presented component unit. The term discretely refers to the way they're presented within the financial report. They are not shown as a part of the city, but they are shown alongside the city. So there's that discretely is referring to the distinction between the city's general fund or other operating funds compared to these component units, which are not a part of the city's everyday activities. All right, I'm going to jump into the general fund balances on page 5. And I want to mention, too, that if you have any questions as we're going through this, please feel free to stop me. We can touch on anything as it comes up. So on page 5 is an overview of your general fund balances for the past 4 years. And it's helpful to look at your general fund ending reserves compared to your operating costs and see how much do we have available to cover our operating budget. And so you can see here that you have about 19% within your general fund, and that's very healthy. It's right along the lines of what you would want. A good recommendation is to have about 3 to 4 months within your general fund operating reserves. So 18% is right in line with what you would expect. I want to note on this chart, you did see a large increase in your cost in 2023. There was some one-time repair work that was done in 2023 that increased your cost significantly that you did not see in 2024. And then on the next page is your general fund revenues by type for the last 3 years. You can see where your funding is coming from for your operating fund. So you can see there what the changes have looked like. Taxes, very consistent increases over the last 3 years. Charges for services includes a wide variety of things, any types of fee revenue that you're bringing in. And then that other category is some of those one-time reimbursements, any one-time grants that you get, or other types of revenue that don't kind of fall in nicely with the other categories. And then next, on the next page, your general fund expenditures by department. So you can see what your spending looks like by department over the last 3 years. General government is most of your administrative staff in City Hall. The public safety, you can see that there was some really large one-time cost in 2023 that jumped that up, but went right back down in 2024. And then culture and rec, that includes all of your parks, anything that would fall into there. And then that other category would be anything that doesn't fall into those other buckets. And then I'm going to switch gears a little bit on the next page away from the general fund, and we're going to look at some of the other city funds. So alongside your general fund, you have these very specific funds that are mostly restricted in nature. And so you have tax increment, sales tax, road and use tax, and then you have also your capital fund. And so you can see how those funds have changed over the last 3 years. And the capital fund, that's not, it looks startling where you see from 2022 it going down to 2023. That's not an uncommon trend within the capital funds. Capital funds tend to be built up over long periods and then depleted quickly. And so it looks really drastic with that change, but nothing to be alarmed of. And especially you guys talking about your capital improvement plan, as long as you have a plan in place for how those reserves are going to be built back up and then used. That's the main thing, and just kind of knowing that that's the normal trend to see. And then next is a look at your debt service. So what we do here for debt service is we like to show what your principal and interest requirements look like over the life of your existing debt. And it helps you understand where you're going to have debt payments that fall off. And in those years, it's a really good time to plan large improvement projects. And so you can see here in 2026, you're going to have a bond fall off. And so you have a little bit of room to level out your debt. And then again in 2032, and then in 2034. So it just gives you a feel for when those opportune times are to issue new debt. That's not always possible. You can't always wait until the perfect moment, but this is a look at what that timeline is. And then next is a look at your water fund. So these are, I'm going to show you a water fund chart and then also a sewer fund charts as well. These are two of my favorite charts. And the first one is really looking at how well are we cash flowing our operations, and what have those trends looked like over the last 4 years. And so you have your operating receipts in the dark orange color, and then you have your operating costs side by side. And the goal is to have a gap between your receipts and your operating costs. And so this is a really clear picture that the fund and your rates are working exactly like they should. You're able to cover your operating costs with your receipts and also build up some cash reserves. And then on the bottom chart is a look at your cash balances. We have included a target balance. This is a very basic recommendation that we have to include all of your debt service, if you were to have any in your water, plus 50% of your operating costs in your cash. That way you can make sure that you always have a really excuse me, a really healthy cash balance. And so you can see here that your cash balances do meet that operating target, and they're looking very healthy over the last 4 years. And then next is your sewer fund. And so top chart again is how well are we supporting our operations, and then any debt payments. And so within the sewer fund you have some PFA loans that are outstanding, and you can see there that you're able to cover both your operating costs and your debt payments, and so your rates are doing exactly what they should be doing. And then also your cash balance is remaining really strong over the last 4 years. Our contact information is on the last slide. These are the members of your audit team. And so myself, Adam, and Sierra all worked on the audit this year, and we would love to hear from you at any time. You can always reach out to us. And I would love to go over any questions that you have right now.
Any questions for Bonnie from the council?
You made a recommendation, if I might.
Yes, sir.
You made a recommendation to me and Angie regarding approval of some things.
Yep.
Can you want to talk about that real quick?
Yes, thank you so much, Sam. So one thing that we recommended for the city, which we didn't feel like was warranted a finding, was to increase some controls around journal entry approval. And so within any accounting system, it's really important that if one person does something manually, that is looked at by another person and approved. So we had a recommendation for all journal entries, which is a very manual process within the system, be approved. And then the other recommendations we have is to take a look at policies and make sure that the city has some policies in place, especially a fund balance policy. And so I'm going to refer back to page 5, where I talked about the general fund balance. But the general fund, that's your main operating fund, and you have a good, healthy fund balance in there right now. But in order to ensure consistency within that fund and understanding by future councils of what that fund should look like, you need to have a policy in place that has a minimum and also a maximum. The fund balance in the general fund should be used for operating needs, and anything that is not needed for operations, it's best practice to move it over to capital or some sort of other fund, and so you can set it aside for rainy days. A fund balance policy would lay all of that out, and that's something I still need to get to Sam and Angie for their review. Also, investment policy, cash management policy, just some more basic policies that we see in other cities as a best practice. Any other questions or clarifications?
As I was going through this, and I can't find it back now, but there was an acronym, I'm assuming an acronym, RSI. What is RSI?
Oh, yes. So RSI stands for Required Supplementary Information. And within your report, it's referred to a couple of different ways. RSI is also known as the other information, and it discloses details about your pension plan from the state and the balances of the city's allocation of the pension liability. And so that is located in a section called Other Information. It's also referred to as Required Supplementary Information. Mm-hmm.
So why RSI? What does that actually say?
Yeah, Required Supplementary Information.
Required, oh, okay.
Yes, yep.
Gotcha.
And I'll have to go back and check that reference just to make sure that it's spelled out somewhere in there. So I'll make a note of myself to double check that.
I kind of looked a little bit, but there was a lot of information to go through, so I didn't spend a lot of time looking
at it. Yes, yeah.
I even Googled it, RSI, in accounting terms, but it didn't give me what I was looking for.
Well, it's you guys are very lucky that you're government, so you get very special governmental accounting rules that you have to follow. So sometimes it's hard to find the specifics.
All right. Anyone else? Questions?
I have one last question. So I didn't have a chance to ask you this, but when you sent Angie and I 3 Excel files, which I linked, and that might be too much information to have linked, but I don't remember receiving that from previous auditors, so I'm just curious if you could elaborate what those 3 files mean.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really great question. So the 3 Excel files in there show the detail from your accounting system and how it's grouped within the financial statements. And so the accounting system that the city uses, we take all of that data and then we put it into the financial report so we can show it in the required way that it needs to be formatted. And it can be challenging sometimes to understand, okay, we have these, 10 revenue accounts. I don't see a balance for that, one of them on the financial statements. And so how do I get from the numbers within the accounting system or the numbers you see within your budget per account to the financial statements? And so those Excel files will be helpful if you're going through your budget process soon and you want to see, okay, how is this shown in the audit report? Those will tell you, okay, here's this charges for services account, and this is where it's grouped within the financial statements, and that ties back to the audit report. So as an auditor, I like it when everything ties together, and so those Excel files help do that. You probably won't need them or ever need to look at them, but useful information.
Last chance for questions. All right, thank you, Bonnie.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you. You bet. Any further discussion or direction regarding the audit report? If not, we'll receive that and move forward. Do we need to approve it?
I would recommend a motion to approve or to accept.
Accept it. Okay, I'll take that motion if somebody's willing to make it.
So moved.
Support.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Eggers?
Aye.
Hint?
Aye.
Ostra?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Hamel?
Aye.
All right, next item up is discussion regarding the Western Avenue project. Landon, I think you were going to address the council at this time. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Landon with Beck Engineering. Just wanted to provide an update on the Western Avenue project and the process moving forward. Had a lot of discussions with Todd over the past few months, really over the past year, about the project. And right now, plans are with the DOT and specs are being developed, which will be authorized prior to December 17th. So as you're aware, the full reconstruction for Western Avenue is planned from 16th Street, continuing north a mile to Highway 18. The existing road varies between a 24-foot wide rural section and a 31-foot wide urban section. The proposed project includes reconstructing the full mile, 31 feet wide, with curb and gutter, which would be an urban section. Doing this allows us to fill in the open cut ditches where possible, but there still will be a series of area intakes in the right-of-way to collect some water. Underground utilities with the project will be all new storm sewer infrastructure with sub-drain on both sides of the road. We are upsizing a sanitary sewer force main to an 8-inch on the south 1,700 feet or so of the project, and then removing a 4-inch water main about 1,300 feet on the south side of the project. Those properties that are on that 4-inch main, their services will be switched over to the 10-inch on the west side of the road. As far as timeline for the project, the DOT has set tentative contract periods, those being a late start date of May 5, 25, with 125 working days. We do have a chance to review the contract periods, and Todd and I had a discussion, and we responded recommending that be trimmed to 115 days. Only a difference of 10 days. It's not a huge request, but just an attempt to trim the disturbance out there and limit work being pushed up to cold weather as October and November arrive. With that being said, still trying to have a reasonable schedule that's attractive to bidders. As far as cost on the project goes, I believe the estimate was linked to the agenda. The final estimate landed around $4.6 million, and the preliminary estimate prepared a year ago was $4.3 million. So up about 7%, which isn't a huge surprise as we progressed plans and arrived at the final destination. So for tonight, as far as council action, due to the DOT bid letting process, plans are still being developed and will be authorized, will be authorized by the DOT prior to the 17th. So we can't officially approve plans and specs tonight. So at this time, we're just asking for approval of the January 22nd, 25 bid date that has been established by the DOT, and it's a DOT bid letting, and then set a public hearing for February 5 following.
Okay.
For clarity, the agenda says February 5.
Can we do that in one motion? You need to.
So, question, if I may.
I think one motion.
What, the estimate of 4.6, is that higher than when we first started? And by,
A year ago,
where were we at a year ago? Yeah,
4.3.
4.3, okay. Good.
But Tom, when we really started, 2019,
Yeah.
we were at like 2.5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, it was
Yeah.
pretty low.
You could have gone all night without saying that.
The world we live in.
I move we go back to that first day. Oh, no.
Good luck.
That was Todd's estimate.
Yeah.
Half
Yeah, that was not.
project.
So. Wow. Okay. We can do this as one motion according to Sam, so I would be willing to accept a motion to approve and set the date, as noted there.
I'll make the motion to approve the approval of the bid letting and also set the public hearing.
Support.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Landon.
Yep, you bet. Thank you, guys.
You have a good night.
Thanks, Linda.
Moving on to item D, first reading of the ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sheldon by amending provisions of Section 115.04 pertaining to cemetery rates. Any comments on that, Sam?
Yeah, very quickly, the last time the rates were raised was in 2021. So the board, if you click into the link from the previous, or from the cemetery board meeting on November 14, they had a lot of examples to look at and chose to make some reasonable increases. This is first reading. You're welcome to waive second and third, but there's no pressure. I did include the cemetery board also on the first reading information as well, so that they had this, haven't received any feedback. So I've linked the version with the edits and the final version, so you can see what's changed.
All right, are there any questions for Sam on this?
May I make one more comment?
You certainly can.
There are also a couple of policy decisions that are included in this setting of the rates, and that is to, one is with the baby land lots is to sell in a row, so you can't just pick a spot anywhere on the front. So we've been selling in a row for years, and this just codifies what we're basically already doing. The other is because of the size of the baby land lots is to limit burials only for age 1 or less. The cemetery board can approve exceptions, and then also makes clear that the open and closed and grave permit and fee is required for public or private columbariums. Angie had an inquiry come in about someone wanting to buy a private columbarium for cremated remains, and the open and closed would apply to that too.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I guess the only comment I would have is I'm thankful I didn't get to take advantage of the cheaper rates, so I would be willing to make a motion that we accept this.
Okay. And do you want to do anything with waiving the second and third readings?
We need to do them separately.
Yeah,
We do.
I would
Okay.
be willing to
All right.
move that we waive the second and third readings.
Okay, that's going to have to be a separate motion, I just found out. So we have a motion to approve the first reading.
Support.
Further comments or discussion? Roll call, please.
Eggers,
Aye.
Hint,
Aye.
Ostra,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Snyder.
Right.
And then your desire regarding the second and third reading
I'll make a motion.
to waive it?
Waive it, yeah.
Okay,
Support?
roll call, please.
Hint,
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Okay, item E, tax increment financing ordinance for the Sheldon urban renewal area. Sam, again, I question you if you have anything you want to comment on.
Yeah, this removes the Quick Star neighborhood, generally the area located north and east of Washington Avenue and Highway 18. Most of those lots are fully developed except for the frontage of the car wash next to Quick Star. And this basically, this keeps the land in the urban renewal area and releases it from TIF. There's a range on the amount that's being released because you don't know exactly for sure, because you have a difference between parcel numbers and legal descriptions, right? So we, Angie and I, Angie has already submitted the amount for the coming fiscal year, which would be to request $150,000 and change less, but then that number will be trued up as time goes on, so it may end up being less in the future. So this formalizes what we have already done. We've already submitted the information to the county so that, because they were up against a deadline, so.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Make the motion to consider releasing the TIF agreement.
And thereby, is that approving the ordinance as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand your motion is
Yes,
to approve first
the-
reading. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
I will support.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Ostra,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Kent,
Aye.
Eggers,
Aye.
And I'll
And
also
we
make
need
a
a-
motion to approve to waive the second and third reading.
Support.
Any questions? Roll call.
Eggers,
Aye.
Kent,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
That's all? No. All right. All right, moving on to reports. We have Tricia Maney here tonight, presenting on the activity at the pavilion. Welcome,
7
ma'am.
pages of my report, so we got about an hour to
You've
go.
got 2 minutes.
Right,
you've
Ange?
got more
I'll
than
give you
that.
3.
Okay.
Didn't we ask for 12?
Well, you'll notice page 7 was
Okay.
blank, so you can take notes. How's that? Mostly it's going to be pictures of your graph, so I believe, Ange, thank you for attaching that. Mostly appreciated. So I'll just start from the beginning, go through it. If you have questions, please ask, but I will make it quick. 7 years we've been open now, and in those 7 years we've had 1,134 events, with 323 of those being weddings. Seriously, on a windy day, you're going to take my picture. Okay. Thanks, Justin. Thanks. And then we've been asked in the past, how do they compare because of the weddings versus others? So I have that chart at the bottom of page 1, where it just shows you how many were weddings this year, 61 versus 175 total events. Page 2 is specific to 2024. We've had 175 events, same as last year. Our staff, we have 39 part-timers, 2 full-time, and we do have 1 person who has picked up the office position who helps out maybe 1 day a week. So, it's not like the position we had anticipated, but it's just nice to have that extra help for someone willing to do some tedious, time-consuming tasks. Of our events this past year, the hosted events, we did the Johnny Holm Band with the Chamber, our bridal fair, again, it was our 6th one. And then we do the community unity service with the Sheldon Ministerial Association, and we would like to do a few more as time allows to properly plan for those. Survey results, we always send out surveys to our clients afterwards anonymously just to get feedback, specifically how are we doing, but we're also curious why they choose our event center, and the #1 response is usually the view, the overall flexibility, and then of course our location with proximity to the highway and the airport. And then again, hotel accommodations. We have not heard one negative thing about Cobblestone. Everybody is so happy that there's a hotel just a little bit closer. And then our staff of recommendation. Page 4, I think in the past you've asked like how many days do we still have open, so I tracked, we've had 175 events in 158 days. And then I gave information where there's 100 days where staff worked to do setups, resets, teardowns. Some of those dates will overlap with an event, and then 100 days with our custodial, or 85 days with our custodial staff cleaning in between. So with 175 events, we figure it takes us a good day's worth of work to prepare all the preliminary from the onset to the first phone call tour to execution of the event. So it's a busy calendar that we have. So the graph doesn't show like when Brooke and I take care of setups and teardowns, which we often do when it's small and we don't need to bring in the staff just to save on time and expense. Page 5, looking into 2025, if you want to get married on a Saturday, you better book something soon. We have very limited Saturdays available. We have 82 events already booked for 2025. 49 of those are wedding related. 13 holds, which that just changed today. We're down to 11 holds, so we have 84 booked events. We even have things for 2026 and 2027. Thank you, prom. But also the village with their annual fantasy fundraising dinner. And then in my notes, I won't read through all of that. That can be something that you're doing later on when you might be a little bored. Just to wrap up our year, Brooke and I were talking like, what's our words of the year? Kevin Keene, when he was our board president, would often ask us, give me 3 words to wrap up your evaluation. Well, we decided to stick with 2. One is sustained and the other is intentional. So our staff, we're maintaining and we're trying to do our best without interrupting or weakening our business. We're trying to continue to offer every client and guest an exceptional experience. So what does that mean? It means we're savvy when people call, and there are often times we could book every day of the week that we're there, but do we have the capacity staff-wise to flip it, clean it, and still offer the same cleanliness and experience? We know our boundaries. We're trying to keep those in mind, but it's real hard when sometimes people call and need a Sunday or a Monday when we're closed, and given the demands of the week, we may bend a little bit. We often do that, but we're trying not to. But you don't want to turn away business. And then steady as she goes, business is good, but is it good enough? Something that we're really excited about when we had that directors meeting, and Tim, I forget the last name.
Mormon.
Thank you. In talking with him, he asked a few questions and then said, sounds like we need a Crossroads Pavilion 2.0. He had inquired about a master plan for the pavilion, and we never really had a master plan for the pavilion specifically. We built it hoping it would be busy someday, and that someday came and went a long time ago. So we are playing a lot of catch up, but at the same time we're maintaining. So there's not a lot of room for that dreaming and implementing, but I'm hoping that during the strategic planning process that he can help guide us a little bit on how we can overcome some of our challenges. And, what's it going to look like in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Just things to keep up on, such as we had the wood sealed just this past year, and that's something we probably should have done years ago. But something you don't always see, so it's not always in the front of your mind. And when they did the work, we couldn't have waited 1 more season. But it's beautiful, the work that they did, and you would think there's brand new wood up there. So, excited about Crossroads Pavilion 2.0, and then our capital improvement plan. We'll see how that might ebb and flow. We keep the parking addition in there for $100,000, but we know that's not going to be that cost unless we have someone to help pitch in and pay for that, or people, or businesses, or fundraisers. I don't know. But anyway, buy your parking spot, right? Sorry. So in finishing, I'll just share one event that we had last week, Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Cooperative Farmers Elevator. They are with us constantly. They were there again today. They are renting the facility all the time, and they had their annual banquet on Tuesday night, expecting 250 people, but we set up for 300 just in case. They had more show up than they had anticipated, so we had to set up more tables and chairs, and we make room, and it's fine. The only problem is when I leave and then a little snow comes in, you can see where everybody parked in the grass. So hopefully that parking addition will be nearer and maybe more realistic on our capital improvement plan someday in the budget. So I could keep talking because I have that gift, but I will stop and answer any questions you have.
Was there an agreement when cobblestone came in that there was going to be shared parking, or is that something that was discussed but never implemented?
Correct. We talked about having a parking lot to the east of cobblestone and some kind of shared. I think if we would help pay for it, or if, I don't remember how all that went, but that went down. We didn't agree to anything like that, mainly because from our viewpoint and our opinion at the pavilion is our clients, customers, guests will park in the grass as close to the building as they can before they park in a paved spot to the north and have to walk farther away, especially on a day like today. So, but yeah, there was discussion, but nothing came to fruition with that.
Okay.
All right.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tricia.
Thank you.
And now Trevor. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. There's a couple things in your guys' packet, the outdoor pool report and then the rec report. If you have any questions as I go through stuff, feel free to stop me and ask. Just going to kind of give a highlight over our 2024 season. As far as rec numbers, we had another good year with 1,624 participants. Our 4-year average since COVID is just under 1,600, so those numbers are staying pretty consistent from year to year. Post-COVID, which is a good thing, we did see a slight decrease in about 60 participants this year. As far as our youth programs go, we have 30 different offerings. 14 of those had more numbers than 2023. 8 had 5 or less, and then there was 8 that had 5 or more or less. But still overall good numbers compared to previous years. We also had some new program offerings. One thing we did different this year was in the past we haven't offered many July summer rec programs. This year we brought them back. We had adult pickleball, or youth pickleball league, excuse me, was a new program, arts and crafts, and then July programs were new. So just kind of changing our schedule so then there's more for kids to do in the month of July. You know, historically attendance isn't always great after the 4th of July, but this year that wasn't the case. Those programs we offered, we didn't have low attendance for, so we'll keep that moving forward and looking to add potentially more programs in July as well. So it'll be a little more comparative to the busy June month and just give kids opportunities to do more things in those summer months. As far as our largest programs, continues with our indoor and outdoor soccer programs. The main reason those are our bigger programs is because of out-of-town participation. As far as out-of-town participation, for example, outdoor soccer, this year we had 201 participants. Out of those 200 participants, 70 were from out of town. Same thing with indoor soccer, you know, that's where we see more kids from out of town. I think it's just with other communities might not be able to offer that, and then we get kids from those towns. We've had people from as far as Paulina, Sutherland, Melvin, Hartley, Sanborn, basically any of the small towns around the area. We have had kids participate in at least one of our programs. So I think that's cool to also bring kids in from out of town. That's just something I always like to highlight. As far as changes for 2025 and something new that just happened, we finished our sand volleyball court project at Sunrise Park. I think that's going to be a good addition to our adult program offerings. Right now we just offer adult men's basketball, volleyball, and then pickleball league. This will give us an additional summer offering where we currently don't have a summer offering for adults. So it's just another avenue to offer something for the adults in our community during the summer months. Other than pickleball, if you ever drive past pickleball courts, you'll see they're pretty much busy every morning out there. And Ed Jager and Stan Tenclay do a lot of work out there, and we appreciate their help with those pickleball courts. As far as new programs for 2025, there's a couple different things we're thinking of. Obviously with the adult program, adding sand volleyball, and then 5th through 6th grade volleyball, and other things we've mentioned too is frisbee golf. You know, we have a course at Hills Park to utilize. We might as well have a program to utilize that. And then something else too is a running club. Previous place I worked for my internship in college, they had a running club there and had a good group of about 20 or so people. I think that's something unique that we could do during the summer months. Maybe not my cup of tea anymore, but I feel like there's people in the community that would be interested in that. As far as rec, do you guys have any questions for the rec report, numbers, different programs or anything before I move on to the pool?
I do have a question.
Yes.
How is the utilization of the football field since we put the new surface on? How has that impacted
Yeah,
rec?
so that's been a great partnership. You know, it's us using it, the college using it, and then obviously the school as well. So the programs we've utilized it for is flag football and outdoor soccer. When it comes to flag football in the fall, you know, the high school has football and then the college has soccer. But we are able to utilize that for games on Saturday mornings, which is nice. I think it's very beneficial to the kids, especially during football season. We played the last night under the lights, so it's just a good opportunity for the kids to get on the field. And then, like I said, we also use it for outdoor soccer. The field's a little big for the younger kids, so we mainly just use that for our older kids for that due to how many people we have in the program and just getting things done in a timely manner. But I think it's worked well for us using it when we have a program that could use it.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions related to rec, and then I'll go over pool? Good. So as far as pool, a rarity this year, we had 33 lifeguards, which is very good. Last year we had 22, so that's quite a big difference. The difference I noticed this year with the amount of lifeguards we had was that our schedule in August was better. Once kids start going back to school, our August schedule most years is very minimal once it gets to sports starting in early August. This year we were able to have our pool hours open more regularly in August due to having 33 staff members. Hopefully that trend continues. Best way to do it is stay competitive with wages, which I feel we're pretty competitive right now. But that's a good problem to have, is having too many lifeguards. I know there's other communities that struggle, so that's a good thing. As far as the Outdoor Aquatic Center, we've been open an average of 75 days a year since we opened in 2008. We were open 74 this year. As far as new things going on at the pool, we will be painting the pool in the spring of 2025, so this upcoming spring. That's something that's a necessity. If you remember, a couple days early in June, we were closed due to some issues we have with the paint. And the reason you get it done contracted out is it needs to be sandblasted this time, so it's a little tougher job that time. But as far as memberships, we had 142 family memberships this year. 22 of those were out-of-town memberships. And then that's our highest total I have on record since we started tracking that. So that's good to have. As far as swimming lessons, we did have a little down year on swimming lesson numbers, and part of that is a little bit of our schedule organization of that. So I met with our managers from the previous 2 years, and we're going to kind of retool that schedule to benefit everybody and also our staff. There were some days where we were short, even with 33 lifeguards for this swimming lesson. So we're going to do a little bit of tweaking to those swimming lesson schedules to benefit both the community and then our staff members. And then adult offerings that we're looking to add. Since I've been here, we haven't had adult offerings at the pool. But I think we're going to, as we're reworking that swimming lesson schedule, we're going to see if there's a way we can fit in an adult aerobics class or lap swim. I think there's room where we can do that, and I had a couple people inquire about it late last summer. So that's something we'll look into, is figuring out where we could potentially fit in adult programs at the pool there. Are there any questions you guys have when it comes to pool? The only other thing I was going to mention is we continue to do preventative maintenance. Built in 2008, things are starting to get old, breaking down more frequently, so we're just trying to get ahead of things, getting pumps serviced yearly and things like that, just to avoid potential closures. Otherwise, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and appreciate you having me.
Anyone, questions for Trevor?
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate the report, Trevor, and keep up the good work. Thank you. All right, moving on with reports. Anything further from you, Sam?
A couple of things. Tomorrow I start my 7th year with you, so thank you, and I look forward to the coming year. Police officer applicants, applications are due Friday. HR proposals being accepted through noon tomorrow. That's all I have.
Okay. Todd, anything from you today?
No, thank you.
Eric?
I've had a couple of concerned parents talking about the school drop-off at the elementary school regarding traffic at their traffic circle on Normal College Avenue. I've done a little bit of sitting there watching the traffic, and I did make a traffic stop yesterday morning trying to address some of the issues. I've been talking with the school about trying to figure out a plan for making this safe for everyone and a plan that works for everyone. And I guess right now I'm not making any recommendations. I'm probably going to spend a couple more weeks monitoring and seeing what the school actually would like to do with this and everything. kind of a consideration that we're looking at is possibly facilitating some way that the school can close the northbound lane of Normal College Avenue for about a half-hour window when school is when all the kids are being dropped off for school. We just have to figure out if that's what we want before we move forward. So, but that's something that's coming down the pipe possibly.
Very good. Thanks, Eric. Angie, anything from you today?
No, thank you.
Micah?
No, thanks.
Council to my left.
Thank you.
And to my right? Okay. So next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, is a reminder for our strategic planning workshops, 4:30 each night, done by 7:30-ish? We will be done by 7:30.
Okay.
All right, and then on Thursday night of next week, we'll be hosting the Northwest Iowa League of Cities out at the Pavilion. Social hour starts at 5:30 and supper at 6. If you're interested in that, is it too late, or can they still get in on that?
No, you can still get in.
All right.
I think sign up is through next Tuesday.
Okay, just so,
Next Thursday?
yep, next week Thursday. If you aren't sick of
So
city
sorry,
business by
that's
then.
3 nights next week. I apologize.
So, yeah, but just keep that in mind as well, and let somebody know, Sam or Angie, whatever. And that's all I've got, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ostra.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.